What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be going over cutscenes in FPS. Now, this has been a highly requested video that I've been putting off for a while because I got kind of confused with them. Uh, they're super simple once you kind of figure them out. So, to get started with this, there's going to be some errors if depending on maybe your Unity version or something like that. But if the fix that I use gets approved by ThunderWire, then I will go ahead and post that description. This is going to be for player cutscenes that we have that issue. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and kind of show you how to do normal cutscenes. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and just disable these two things right here. The big black box kind of gets annoying to look at, but so you're going to want to open up a scene, no matter kind of whatever scene you want to open up here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create an empty object. We'll call it cutscene 1. Okay, so now that that's over here, we're going to go ahead and create a cube here, and we'll just call this cube trigger. We're going to go ahead and place a cutscene trigger on that. You're going to want to be on camera cutscene for this one specifically. Then we're going to go into game objects, cinemachine, and just make a cinemachine camera. We'll call this cutscene 1 cam. And if you don't see this timeline window, you can actually just go ahead and go to Windows, and then you can go, if you need the animation tab, you can go here, but this one's going to be under sequencing and timeline. Just drag it to wherever, fits best for you. So we're going to go ahead and I don't think that's usually in there. Let me make a new one real quick, just to kind of make sure. Okay, so we'll go ahead and drag both of these under here, actually. Now, this camera I'm just going to position right here by pressing Control-Shift-F to position it to the camera I'm looking at, or with the camera I have on. So, some stuff you're going to need. You're going to need the Cinemachine Brain, which will get automatically created here. And what else? So then we're going to go ahead and we're going to start animating this cutscene here. So we're going to go ahead and create. Now I recommend making a new folder, calling it like cutscene data or something like that. Going to open it. We're going to save just like that. And from this point, what we're going to do is we're going to just animate this cutscene. So the start of it, I'm going to have it kind of up over here, sort of next to this thing right here, this little trigger that we have. So the basic way to think about it is once our player enters this cube right here, we're going to start moving this camera. So what we want to do is kind of position it relative to that. Now we're going to want to add an animation track into here. And so that means that we're going to have to go back over here to our camera. We're going to have to add an animator. Now, what we'll do is we'll actually just go ahead and create a new animation track. Oh, we have to drag this here. So you'll want to drag, oopsies, the animator into here so that it can create new animations and stuff. So there's two ways you can go about animating this camera here. You can just click this record button, and then I always like to do this first. I like to grab my component, move it around a bit, and then paste the component values here. Then you'll go over here to about maybe a second. We'll call it maybe 90. We're going to move it up to here, and then maybe just move this slightly so that we can lock in this position here on the rotation. We'll go up to 120. We'll just have the player look up at the little lamp post there. And from there, you just want to kind of play it and see how it looks. Cool, that looks perfect for what I want to do. So we'll go ahead and stop recording that. Now, if you want to animate it inside of this tab, because maybe you're more familiar with that, you can just double click it and it'll open it up in here, and it gives you a bit more flexibility to see what you're doing over here. So one big thing I always forget is to save my timeline. So always make sure you are saving your timeline. That is a huge thing. So Control S, you'll see a little asterisk here if it's not saved. We'll come over here to trigger. And now we just need to throw in our playable director and our Cinemachine camera. Because this is the camera cutscene, we're not blending it. So we can put like 1 second blend, or fade speed rather. We'll go ahead and re-enable these guys right here. Come over here and set this to is trigger. You can either set it to an interact or an event. If you want the player to, I don't know, grab a gun and then shoot it, right, or something like that, then you would have it set to be an interact or an event, or maybe even a trigger, depending on how you want to set that up. So if we go ahead and click play now, what you'll notice is it's going to take a second. All right. Of course, I spawned myself super far away. But if we walk over here now, it'll blend in, and then, oh, we forgot something. So you'll see, though, it'll look up there. So the thing we actually forgot to do was set this to not play on awake. We also don't want it to loop. We want it to be on game time. If we go ahead and play now, it should look a little bit nicer for us. Also, Happy New Year, everyone. Recording this on the 31st, so here soon. But now, it'll just kind of go. And then, wow, we saw a lamppost. And so that is basically how you do basic camera cutscenes. Those are super, super easy. The more complicated part comes in when we start doing player cutscenes, which we'll go ahead and we will just duplicate this right here. And we're going to drag this over here. Now, for player cutscenes, something I'd heavily recommend, well, you can actually just delete these two things here. I would very much recommend doing this, making it into a wall rather than a cube. Makes it a lot easier to edit and play with. So what we're going to do for this is we're actually going to go to the playground. Now, we're going to want to copy this thing that ThunderWire was so kind and made for us. This is right here. So we have our player cutscene, and you'll notice there's a little player dude here. Now, we actually want to keep this guy, because what he, or she, I don't know, what they are doing here is it's basically a reference to a fake player that just has a camera. And this camera is kind of configured to be similar to the normal camera. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to cutscene data, and we're actually going to make a copy of this. Now, I always say make sure to unpack these prefabs because you don't want them being references. So now we'll go ahead and go to our scenes, sample scenes, and we don't want to save. So now we're going to go over to cutscene 1_1, which we're actually going to rename to cutscene 2. And we're going to drag this cutscene player inside here. Now he's going to be somewhere over there, which is fine. We're just going to set him to 0, 0. Now right now I have my character is a bit more underground. So you can see, or my floor here is a bit more underground. I always recommend enabling this head camera so that you can see where your cutscene player is currently facing. So right now I'm going to face him this way. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're just going to delete this guy, You can leave the dialogue trigger if you want. I'll kind of go over how that all works in a minute. So I'll just reset these. And then over in head camera here. So now we're going to go ahead and go to this timeline, and we'll create another cutscene. And we'll go over to our assets folder, and we'll call this player cutscene 2. So for this one, what we're going to do, very similar. We're going to add an animation track and drag an animator on here. which it should have an animator because we copied it over, but it might not. Then we're going to record. And again, I like to lock this component over here. And then we're just going to come over here just like that. And then again, we're going to have him lock that rotation and then have him look to the left and then to the right, just like that. So to go 1, 2, left look, right look. And then in here, I'm actually going to add another, I'm going to add a signal track. And then right here, I'm going to add a signal emitter. We're going to call it dialogue trigger for now. And then we're going to drag cutscene player in here. So you might be asking, well, what are you doing? This is crazy. It's pretty simple, actually. What we're going to do is we're going to use this signal receiver to basically send out a yes, please trigger to our dialogue. So we'll add a reaction. Should be right here under dialogue trigger if you have this dialogue trigger script on here. And the reaction, so the reaction is going to be cutscene player, trigger dialogue. So our dialogue trigger is actually going to be event-based. It'll be global and sequence. We're just going to use the basic where am I dialogue here. Which you can see, this one has multiple lines, which is okay. So we'll just use this one for now. But then we're going to come over here to our trigger, and this should have, again, cutscene trigger and all that. We're going to actually add a dialogue events here. Add 2 events, and we'll go ahead and trigger the on trigger. We will, or collider, we will turn this trigger off. And then, as soon as it is done, we will turn the trigger back on. What this is going to do is it's going to make it so that the dialogue doesn't trigger twice or have any issues with that, like if our other stuff interacts with it. So we're going to drag, first we're going to set this to player cutscene. Now you'll notice I have a couple other things here. Or I might not, just depends on how yours is set up. So what I found is that sometimes this blend definition and blend settings won't show up. So I made a fix on my own with this script here, depending on what ThunderWire says about it. I might have this posted in the description. If not, just message me on anything and I'll help you figure it out. So we're going to go ahead and drag cutscene player into here, cutscene player into here. We will have it wait for dialogue, I think. Actually, no, because we're going to trigger it in the cutscene. We'll have it trigger here. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and do ease in out. Mine will say S like this, but yours should say like time. And I'm going to just say 1 second. Wait for blend in before it starts. I'm going to set that to about 0.5. And the blend out time, probably about 1. And then you can have cutscene start and end events. So like if you wanted to, I don't know, play a sound or something, but for our head camera, for some reason, it did not copy our camera over correctly. That's okay. So now we'll just want to make sure, again, we have this here. Yep, okay, left and right. And then this here should probably auto-populate that, but just always double check. And then I also enjoy setting my triggers to ignore raycast so that we don't shoot through it or something. Okay. Oops, I forgot to do the thing again. So now it's probably going to play on awake. So I'll go ahead and undo that. Come over here to cutscene player. Nope, we are good. Game time, wrap mode, none. Perfect. So now if we go ahead and play, theoretically speaking, we should have a player cutscene and a normal cutscene. And obviously you can go into crazy detail animating this. Oopsies, that's whoopsies. You do want to disable this because you kind of can't have that just kind of chilling. on because it's basically a full player camera. So now we'll walk over here. Run in here. You'll see we get kind of sorted in. Yep. And then you'll notice we can't trigger it again. And then the same thing here. We walk over here, fades in, and comes over here, looks up. And obviously you can go kind of crazy in detail with these cutscenes if you really want to. These are just some basic examples to kind of get you going. You can actually read all the documentation for this that this video pretty much follows. This is probably what yours will look like if yours isn't broken like mine was. I don't know why mine is broken, but this is a very, very good documentation showing how to do all this. I heavily recommend watching Bracky's tutorial on Unity timelines. They are very, very helpful. It's a little outdated now, but most of it still works the same. You might get some errors in there. I'm not quite sure what that's about, but that is essentially how all this works. I think you can actually leave this guy out here, the Cinemachine Brain, because it's essentially just essentially just telling, like, do we ignore timescales? Do we et cetera, et cetera. So again, let's go ahead and test it again. You can see we waited until a character was there. We waited till our character came in, and then, but you also notice that the dialogue actually won't stop. This won't turn to a trigger again until the dialogue's over. But that is the essentials on how to make cutscenes. As you can see, it was pretty quick. Player cutscenes are definitely the most difficult, but you can, again, go in here. If you really wanted to like add some crazy stuff, you could add an animation track where cube over here. Let's add him over here. We'll throw this in the cutscene. Trigger 2. And this is kind of the cool thing about these cutscenes is like, so if I add this guy, throw him in here, and then if I record, then I could just basically say zoom, and then zoom, and then again over here zoom. And this is kind of the cool part about these cutscenes, right, is that you can do stuff like this where you're basically making a bunch of stuff in the scene happen, and you don't have to have it all linked. Or like back the way to do cutscenes originally in Unity was through the animation tab, and you had to have every single object on the same place. So like right here, if I have this cube here, right, I come over here, then you'll see that it animates and it flies around. But obviously I was looking down, so it was hard to see, but that's one of the benefits of this new timeline tab. It's not really new now, but so I heavily recommend learning how to use it and using it to make your cutscenes amazing. So that's basically all for today. So thank you guys for watching, and have a great day.